Hello, my name is Christy Cardillo, and a warm Bradenton and Kiwanis welcome to all who have joined us today. We're pleased to share our program of the candidate forums for the Bradenton and Palmetto mayoral races via live stream broadcasting. We want to thank all the candidates for taking the time today to participate, and a special thank you to Manatee Performing Arts Center and Shin Visual Productions for all the hard work in making the magic of an online forum happen. To our guests online, welcome, and if you're interested in joining Bradenton and Kiwanis, please reach out to us via our website. We have a great group here that leads by serving. We'd love for you to join the Kiwanis family. Bradenton and Kiwanis is a driving force that makes a lasting difference for families and our community. We strive toward a community dedicated to the success of children and families. Now, please join me in welcoming to the podium fellow Kiwanian Janine Amick, our moderator for today.
Thank you, President Cardello. And welcome to everyone who is watching on Vimeo. We are so grateful that you've joined us today. We ask that you share this link with your friends so that you and all that you know can be educated in regards to the races that are happening right here in our very own backyards that really do have a great impact on our day-to-day lives. We'll start with allowing the candidates in just a moment to introduce themselves. Our forums here at Bradenton and Kiwanis are a little different. So when our candidates arrived here today at the Performing Arts Center, they were each given 8 individual questions. We asked each one to answer question 1 and 5, and then choose 3 additional questions. And so with that, we look forward to their specific answers and also giving them an opportunity to expand on those answers that they have given. We will start with all the way to my right, and we'll start with Mr. Dimitrie Denis, a candidate for the mayor's race of the city of Bradenton. Dimitrie, would you give us a 2-minute introduction, please, sir?
Yes. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dimitrie Denis, your candidate for mayor here in the city of Bradenton. When you look at the presidential election, we wish that there was a third person that we can choose from. But the people of the city of Bradenton are at privilege of voting for a third candidate. And that third candidate is Dimitrie Denis, the blue-collar Republican, living check to check, working hard to make ends meet for his family. That is in representation of the majority of the citizens here who do not make excuses. Our councilmen did not do their job protecting us from COVID-19. They failed us. Many of our black communities and Latin communities are at risk, as well as our elderly, who is fighting for us. There are community friction with our police department and our community citizens that our councilmen are a part of. How can that be? The people are tired of both establishment politicians offering a blank dream. A vote for Dimitrie Denis is precisely a vote for yourself. So wake up, City of Bradenton. Vote Denis for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denis. Mr. Gene Brown, candidate, City of Bradenton.
Thank you, Janine, and I'd like to thank the Kiwanis and all of the Kiwanis members, as well as my candidate and the Honorable Shirley Groover Bryant for sharing the stage with us today. When you think about it, for many of us, we've had 2 mayors in the city of Bradenton over the last 41 years. So even though I'm a little bit older than 41, I don't remember anybody before that as we go forward. But 3 things are important that I need your help to do in the city of Bradenton. As we go forward, we're still working on our infrastructure that is a very important part of our city. We're going to have to work for public safety, and then we're also going to have to work for housing. So, there's a lot of things that we as a citizens and city will have to do. Leadership is very important at this time. Knowledge is very important at this time. And as we go through that, you are going to need somebody that's been in our community, active in our community, as well as understand some government roles. When you go through it, I believe that I am the candidate that will best go from the city council up to mayor and lead our city. It's about coalitions. It's about working together. It's about working with City of Palmetto. It's about working with our county commissioners. It's about having contacts with the DOT, the MPO, and all of the activities that our city will need to work through to get through this pandemic. And as we go forward and as the forum goes on, it's going to be important to see the difference between me and my candidates, because we are involved in our community. We have been for my whole life. And it's important that we continue to do that to bring leadership and consistency to the city of Bradenton. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Shirley Groover Bryant, your 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody allowing us to be here today, Manatee Players and of course Kiwanis. We've partnered on a lot of different things as far as even projects in the city of Palmetto, so we've always appreciated that. I graduated from Palmetto High School. I went to what was MCC, it's now STF of course, and Florida Southern College in Lakeland. I studied economics and accounting, and it really helps me in the role as serving as mayor. I've prepared myself. I worked for 15 years at the property appraiser's office, so I have a grasp on everything there. I worked in the, I was a chief financial officer at Manatee School for the Arts, and that also broadened, both of those experiences broadened my awareness about human resources. And it's very, very, it's a serious time to always make sure that you know those, not that you're going to run those departments, but in a lot of ways, you have to know when to back off and when to make sure that the commissioners or council people back off. I've been a city representative from 1993 to 2004, and in 2008 I was elected the first time unopposed since. So my top priorities are accountability for the taxpayers, fiscal responsibility, and transparency in Palmetto's government. I would like to work even more closely, as we have in the past, and grow that with Manatee County. I'm currently the chair of the Sarasota-Manatee Metropolitan Planning Organization. I've served as chair twice, and also as vice chair. I've served on there for 12 years. I'm a member of the Tourist Development Council, and also Board of Directors, Manatee Chamber of Commerce, Board of Directors, Bradenton Area Economic Development Corporation, past President and Director Emeritus of Manatee County Fair, past President, Board of Directors at the Manatee County 4-H, and past Chair of the Institute of Government Steering Committee. What you see on, if you looked at my resume, is I'm the only candidate that has the education and the background and the experience to continue. Thank you very much.
Okay, I appreciate that, and thank you to our candidates for their opening remarks. Going a little off of the agenda, you may not, as candidates, be aware that I have a passion for the performing arts here in town, so I have had a burning question. You know, Manatee Performing Arts Center is right here on 3rd Avenue, and I will ask this of the candidates for the city of Bradenton. Would you be supportive of renaming 3rd Avenue Avenue of the Arts? I'll start with Mr. Gene Brown. It's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Denis?
Yes, if that's what the people want, yes.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on. That was the icebreaker. Nobody in the audience laughed, even though some of them wanted to. Okay. So, Mr. Dimitrie, you may not know, I'm the CEO here at the Performing Arts Center. Oh, okay, thank you. All right, for those people on the camera now, you know why I asked also. Okay, so question number 1 was what we asked of all of our candidates. In the midst of economic uncertainty, how can and do you defend the duplication of services that overlap or could be managed by the Board of County Commissioners? Some of the examples: the police department, building permits, code enforcement. I'll start with Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, your answer was concise. City versus county, totally independent. Will you expand on that, please, for 2 minutes?
Sure, Janina, that's a great question. And the reason that's a great question is because when you look, you have a choice as a citizen where to live. And whether you live in Bradenton, Palmetto, or anywhere in the country, you also have a choice when you live in a community. And you choose to live where you think that you're going to probably have the best way to raise your family and have the best quality of life. And I believe that I've chosen my whole adult life to live in the city of Bradenton. And that was a little bit accidental at first, but it's purposeful as we've gone forward in our life. And you say that, you know, the police force and the sheriff's offices, but in the city of Bradenton, it may be a little bit quicker with the police because of our city is smaller, so they have less to cover. When you talk about other services, permitting, you know, we do a little bit quicker permitting in the city of Bradenton, which sometimes works for our citizens. People want to annex into the city at times, which shows you that there is a need to have more services within the city. Now, again, it's a citizen's choice where to live, And the city of Bradenton is basically busting at the seams right now, and we're proud to have that. And I do believe that it's two different, that's why I said not city versus county in a bad way, but city versus county as independent. And you make that choice as a citizen, and you live with it and the benefits of it.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Dimitrie, your answer was, we will cut wasteful spending. Will you explain more, please?
Yes, ma'am. So like my opponent, Jim Brown, said, there is a difference between the city and the commissioner. Obviously, we are busting at the seams here in the city, but at the same time, we want to make sure that there aren't wasteful spending, that the permitting and police department and departments as a whole are remaining within their budgets, and they're not overhiring or underhiring, and most importantly, are providing the services to the people. As you know, the county is way bigger than the city, and so the county has to offer more services perhaps than the city. And so we want to make sure that both the city and the county and the commissioners are working effectively with our tax dollars, and most importantly, that the people of the city are receiving equitable assistance from the city that they're paying taxes in.
Thank you. Ms. Shirley, yours was expediency, police department. Urban areas have different issues than the rural areas. Code enforcement, permitting to be more specific, representatives bringing issues directly from their districts. Will you explain more, please?
Well, obviously, there's a distinct difference between living in an urban area and a rural area. We are able to hone in on specific areas and try to work more closely with increasing different types of housing and placement and rezoning and that sort of thing. So everything is expedited in a municipality. And with law enforcement, we are very responsive. Again, an urban core is very, very different. It's very specific. The community is able to reach out one-on-one more. I think the best government is the closest government to the constituents. Our commissioners, they shop in Palmetto, hopefully. I'm in all the restaurants. I go to the local businesses. I hear from the public. I don't know how much you have of that when you have such a huge population. I think your representation is minimized. Also, with law enforcement, we're very fortunate because it's just a dual coverage. All the law enforcement agencies work together. They have interlocal agreements to back each other up. And it's just a double coverage, and it's more benefit to those people that live in the municipalities, but also don't forget, our officers always go and help with Manatee County as well. They work together on many, many projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dimitrie was the only candidate who chose to answer question number 2. How do you see your municipality's role in the vision of our county's growth plan? Your answer, Mr. Denis. We will be on the forefront of technology. Will you explain more to our viewers, please?
Yes, ma'am. So my plans here for the city of Bradenton is to continue to grow the city of Bradenton, and for more so technology to help advance us. And so I would like to use some of my innovative ideas, such as turning the city of Bradenton into a smart city, which covers a multitude of technology, smart parking systems that use sensors to determine occupancy and availability, that reduces circulation of drivers who are looking for parking space. When you look at the growth and the development of our downtown area, we want to make sure that it's feasible and easy for folks coming in to park and just walk the sidewalks and get to these businesses. And so we want to be able to have technology to help us with that. Also, we want to be able to turn our streets into smart streets lighting with sensors and cameras that can count pedestrians, which is also important because those are information that we can use with our local businesses when we're driving sales there in the city of Bradenton. Also, we want to be able to predict crashes along roadways to help our police departments and Manatee County Sheriff Department. We also want to be able to detect gunshots in our urban corridors with this level of technology, and also automatically report issues of flooding. We know many instances there are flooding all throughout the city and the county, especially with the bridge collapse on Morgan Johnson Road. So we want to be able to have technology help us respond effectively and efficiently. Also, we want to be able to use these technology with the possibility of 5G coming into, having 5G technology in the country to go ahead and spearhead this technology. So that's what I plan on doing with our local municipality, turning it to a smart city.
Thank you. Question number 3. Please explain how the role of mayor for your city is misunderstood by the general public, and what would your day-to-day administrative duties be? So essentially this question was 2-part. Ms. Shirley Groover Bryant, you chose to answer this question. The public misconstrues the role of mayor to be autonomous. As it is now, appointments with the constituents, representation on several boards, meeting with department heads, staff, city operations generally. Can you explain more to our viewers?
Yes, so many people think that the mayor's office, all we do is, we're like queen of the world, we're autonomous, we have all the control. Actually, the mayor's position in the city of Palmetto acts as the CEO, and I take care of all the day-to-day operations. I work with the department heads, I work with the other staff, coordinating with the department heads. I go out in the community, I gather information, and I bring it back. It's very, very critical that that role is understood, and many people in Palmetto don't even grasp the fact that as the mayor of Palmetto, I don't even have a vote. So often, if something isn't going well, guess who gets the blame? But guess who didn't get a vote on it? So it would be good for the public to have a better understanding of that. And I would hope, as I continue as mayor, I would hope to have more and more people. I have an open door policy with the public. Anybody, they can make an appointment and get into me very quickly, because if it's important enough for them, it's important enough for me to listen to them. So I've always done that in the past 12 years. So thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Dimitrie, you answered this as well, and you said the biggest misconception of the general public is that the mayor sits in the office all day. Will you explain more, please?
Yes, ma'am. I think that is very important. And actually, thank you for that question. I know as a young boy growing up in the hood, quite frankly, we're always looking for leadership. And so of course, our mayors are overwhelmed with the burdens of being the CEO of the city or the community, whatever. But we still want a mayor that's going to get out there and partake with the community. I know growing up in the hood or the ghettos or whatever you want to call it, many of our local leaders, they weren't around. They weren't around at the power basketball or our football teams or whatever events were going on in the community. Those local leaders aren't around, the mayors aren't around, and I don't want them to use these as excuses, that they're the CEOs and that they have to do this and do that. No. Take some time out your busy schedule, come out there in the community, share some time, influence, foster some of the kids who don't have leadership in the community, who are looking up to perhaps drug dealers or whatever. But to use, our overwhelming of work duties to not be in the community, and oftentimes the kids don't know who to look up to. So I think that's a misconception that Mayor Almy has to sit in office, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 4. What is your greatest accomplishment that has prepared you for the role of mayor? Mr. Brown, you chose to answer this question. Business owner for 31 years, city councilman for 7.5, and key roles in civic organizations. And last but not least, I will put people before politics. Will you explain more, please?
Yeah, that's kind of how, when I started my presentation, it's important that you've been involved in our community for 31 years, obviously, in the business world and helping families at our family business, a funeral home. And then also one of the biggest and most probably proudest moments of my life is growing up at the Boys Club, now the Boys and Girls Club. They should grow to help thousands and thousands of kids in our community. And obviously, when I went to the club years ago, it was a little different than what it is today, because the club is there now helping the kids that need us most, and that's throughout the whole community. It's not the east side or the west side or the north side or the south side. It's about helping your community. And I've taken leadership roles through Boys and Girls Club, all the way up through the corporate board, now as chairman of the foundation, and been very active in all of the clubs that are out there and all of the community. And I think that that brings you, when you have a leadership role, to actually grow an organization and help with it. It really brings a light to come into the time now, and as mayor, I will continue to be in the community, and as the city councilman for the last 7.5 years, I've been the only councilman that has actually been in the whole community, whether it was over on the east side, the west side, anywhere, whether it was the chamber meetings, whether it was Kiwanis meetings at times, anything that we've been involved in. I have not been behind the desk at City Hall. I've been in our community, cutting ribbons, doing things, been involved as well, and that's where I would continue as mayor, to be involved with our community, as well as my cell number is on everything that I have out there. I am very approachable, so I'll be there as the leader of our city, the chief executive officer, promoting our city and the whole entire city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dimitrie, your answer was to the question, what is your greatest accomplishment that has prepared you for the role of mayor? One word, fatherhood. Could you explain more?
Thank you for that question, and yes, it is fatherhood. When I look back at my life, I don't think that working for my dad's construction business for all my life, or obtaining 3 business degrees, propelled me to being the mayor. I think it is fatherhood for me. I have 7 children. My oldest daughter is in the U.S. military. So off that basis, I'm well prepared to even nurture and grow young women in our community, especially in times where you have human trafficking and gender issues all through the community. I also have young children, young babies in the community, especially when you're going through issues like COVID-19. I would have not waited for the federal government to move their hands on the issue of COVID-19. I have children at home. Am I willing to allow them to be out there sick and at need? No, because Father would tell me that I have to make sure that I have a protocol and plans in place for every family here in the city of Bradenton. Fatherhood also because I don't get to pick and choose which child I like the most. You know what? So when I'm the mayor of the city of Bradenton, I don't get to pick and choose what side of humanity I'm going to be at, who's going to get the opportunities, because fatherhood tells me I love all my children equally, and that in itself is a reflection of my love for the community. So there will be no parts of the city of Bradenton that will go neglected or whatever the case might be. Their mayor will be present and consistent and out of office and in the community with the people and getting their issues and grievances. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 5, you may recall we spoke about in the beginning. Each candidate was asked to answer. With predominantly white city council, how do you pledge a promise of equitable representation for all constituents? For those who are listening, I will repeat it again. With a predominantly white city council, how do you pledge a promise of equitable representation for all constituents? I'll start with Ms. Groover Bryant. Yours is, that is given. Fairness is the cornerstone of selection of the right elected officials. Would you explain more to our audience, please?
Thank you, and I do love the question. I probably have a unique background. I grew up until I was like 13 or 14 years old, right next to Lincoln Memorial High School, now middle school. So I have a different perspective anyway, but part of the process of running for office is to make sure that people understand what your roots are and why you're running for office. If you can't step into it with color blindness, then you need to not be there. And it's up to the voters to determine and ask you those questions. You know, where are you on this? Because if you can't operate in that vacuum correctly, then you don't need to be there. Recently, we've had issues. We have a multicultural festival because we want to draw all segments of the community together. I had an issue where I had someone opposing allowing Hispanics to be at that event, and I would not tolerate it. I moved forward, and we had also, you can make a point just as I did. I just recently located a young lady that has a business in Palmetto, and she's very willing to step onto our CRA advisory board So we have a segment of our population, though we don't have a commissioner, we do have representation to speak up, and I think that's critical. So if you're not being heard, then your commissioners and your mayor are not doing a good job for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dimitrie, your answer was, I will build race relations. Will you explain more to our viewers, please?
Yes, ma'am. I think that's a very important question. I think it's the question that's leading the American people to the polls right now because there are so much social issues that are arising across the nation. But for starters, I don't put my faith in no man because of their race, color, or creed. I put my faith in man because I know that they can get the work done, and that person in particularly keeps their word. Now, far as the question is concerned, to be honest, I don't look to no man, white, black, or whatever, to do for me what I can do for myself. And so before I can ask this white councilman to do for the community, I want to look at myself first and say, what can I do for the community? And therefore put that plan into existence, where that councilman or councilwoman can then therefore follow. But just to put the onus of them, perhaps, to being the trailblazers because they're white, I think that would be disingenuous of me. And also to put my faith in them because they're white or black will also be disingenuous of me. I'd rather give everybody the same equal amount of opportunity to get the job done. And if I am the mayor, best believe I will get the job done. There will be no waiting or anything like that. So if anybody would be looking to hinder progress or get in the way, I would say get the hell out of the way. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, your answer was, I have always worked for inclusion for all. My record reflects it through my family, friends, professional career, and especially my civic involvement. Explain more, please.
Thank you, and that is a great question. When you go through and you know, you can't see a man's heart, but you can know what's in his heart when what he does. And I've been involved with our community since day one. And I say day one, when I was 8 years old and walked into that boys club on 34th Street, which changed my life. And as the years have gone on, the clubs have changed. And again, I go back to that a lot because that's very important to me. And even today, being involved with the clubs and seeing the diversity that we have at the clubs. And it's important as we go through to make sure that we continue to work. And as your heart speaks, you help people. And the most important thing is do the right thing for the right reason when nobody's looking. And it's easy to do it when people are looking at you, but when they're not looking, it shows you where your character is and what you do. And I'm on a committee now with the Boys and Girls Club for the DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's important, and it's opening up a lot of questions in our community of how we do that. And with the council, the way it's set up, it's voted by the public. And it's important that the public realize that we work together, and it's what's in your heart to make it better. And it's always been, my coaching is important to me. And I went through the kids, and it's about helping the kids to see that you have mentors and working together. And it will be very important to me when I'm elected mayor on November 3rd is to have a transition team that reflects our community. And it'll be exciting to see, and people will realize even how much my heart feels for our community and works with our community. Thank you.
Thank you. The following question was actually one of my favorites. If you received $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why? I just remind you that financial decision making at the top levels is hard because sometimes, although there's lots of things you'd love to invest in, sometimes you can only choose one. That's why we asked this question. So I'll start with Mr. Dimitrie. Your answer was, I would apply it to enhance or modify technology. I know you spoke on Smart City. Would you explain some more for our audience's understanding, please?
Yes, ma'am. As I attempt to advance the city of Bradenton once I become the mayor into a smart city, we want to make sure that the advancements that we take are practical and are real. And these technology are practical and are real because these are expected to grow because of advanced telecommunication systems such as 5G. So when we're trying to continue, when we're growing our businesses here locally and we want to influence tourism, well, when you look at having technology that can predict crashes along the way or even count the pedestrians that are walking through our neighborhoods and our businesses, we can therefore share those information with our businesses, such as Shake Pit or Oaks on the corner of Manatee. We are able to tell these businesses how many people are traveling the community, how many people are walking on these sidewalks on these particular days and such. So we are able to grow our businesses. And when we're talking about defunding our police departments, well, we want to be able to enhance our technology so that therefore we can help our police departments by predicting gunshots, especially in our urban corridor. Just recently we had 3 lives that were lost, 2 14-year-old kids who went and shot a 19-year-old Hispanic kid. Well, I'm quite sure if we had the level of technology that could have shown us that, hey, that's what these kids were trying to do in the community, I'm quite sure that we would have been able to stop that. So we just want to continue to raise awareness to technology and letting the people understand how it can change their life and improve their life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, your answer was, I would put it towards renovation of affordable workforce housing. Can you explain more?
Well, as I've learned in the last 7.5 years being on the council, that $1 million doesn't go a long way. Put it in our pockets here, it might go a long way. But government dollars are different. So I just want to answer, the first part of that to me is how do we get that money to be spent like a business instead of like government? So to put the $1 million into maybe, and again, the terminology affordable workforce housing is kind of diluted a little bit. We need more workforce housing for our nurses, our firefighters, our police officers at the beginning of their career. So how do we as a city, and that's going to be important to me as mayor to guide through that, is how as a city are we going to get more of that for our constituents? Because if it's not affordable for the entry level and millennials to live here, then we're going to lose them and we're going to continue where we are today, basically becoming an older community. And I believe that there is a lot of opportunity out there and properties, and that's going to have to be a coalition with the county and the city to work together. Because if we do it together, I think we can get a lot more done, and with our private partners also. So I believe that it may not build a whole complex, but it can get a good start to getting something to get housing for the workforce and the attainable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant, your answer was, utilize it towards pedestrian safety and also clean water initiatives. Would you explain more how that works in Palmetto?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different programs that, having served on the MPO for so long, there are different programs that we could benefit from as far as, this is a very high area statistically for incidents to pedestrians. So we need to really reflect on that, see everything that we can do along those lines. And also, recently, we've had several accidents. Safety is huge for us, and we've had several accidents. One where a high school senior was killed on 23rd Street coming out onto 41. So I've been working with the FDOT and with the local property owners and so forth, and we've moved that forward. It's going to happen in 21 and 22. And so I would initially have said that we're working on that now, so some of that funding could go there, or on the other county, need to look at the clean water that our utility plants are emitting. And I think it's very, very critical. We've done everything that we can do, but we could spend a lot more money repairing our lines because we are the oldest municipality in Manatee County. So that's critical as well. We need to be sustainable as part of our growth and the increased wastewater. And we've made it now so we can store it, draw it back up during the dry season. But we need to grow that, and we also need to work on our lines more. So either one of those or both, but we always leverage whatever money we get. We get grants as much as possible. I quit keeping tabs on how many grant dollars we've gotten. We're small, but it helps us.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Okay, question number 7. How do you prepare yourself to make a decision in the best interest of your constituents, but not the will of your constituents? Mr. Denis, we'll start with you. It's my faith will guide me, being a father will guide me.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question. That was a wonderful question. To be honest, it is those two, my faith and my fatherhood. I believe that if God has chosen me to be the mayor, then He has chosen me to take up on a big responsibility, a big task. And part of that task is making tough decisions. And those tough decisions may not be decisions that your constituents may want you to make. However, you're put in that position to make those tough decisions. And I'm making those tough decisions all the time, being a father. You know, do I send my kids to school? Do I keep them home from the COVID? You know, how do I want to raise them? What kind of kids do I want to grow up here in the city? You know, what type of characteristics do I want them to have? And so those two play a pivotal role in my decision making, and I plan on being the best decision maker once the city of Bradenton elects me to be the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant, you chose to answer this. Prepare a pro and con list of the action needed. No impact. Gather information from the interested parties. Could you explain more?
Yes, I think when you're dealing with a tough issue, I think you need to get as much information, feedback from the community, the parties that are involved, try to meet with groups, try to gather every pro and con that you possibly can. At the end of the day, when I against some very dear friends and what they wanted to do, and if you don't think that's difficult, looking at the faces of very dear friends, old friends, to vote against, but you have to do it. You have to go to bed at night knowing you did the right thing for the municipality that you represent as their mayor and their CEO.
Thank you. Thank you. The final question before closing remarks was how do you see affordable housing playing a role in the growth of your city? Jean Brown, we'll start with you. It is a huge role for the city to be involved in, to keep and bring youth to our community.
Yes, and of course I said a little bit earlier, I believe it's affordable workforce type housing. And as we look as our city grows, we have a lot of, especially along Manatee Avenue, building going on, and there's apartments and condo type facilities, and it's kind of market driven. So, you know, I hear it from my family, from others that, you know, why are we building these and they're affordable housing? On Manatee Avenue, they're more of and they're able to afford them. Now, when you talk about affordable or workforce housing, those are the people that need a little extra help to start out. Gives them kind of that bridge to maybe where they can get to. And I believe the city has some properties that we're working through. There's already a project going on 14th Street that's going to be part of that. And it's purchased from the city, so part of the regulations the city made with him is that it has to be affordable. But public-private partnerships are going to be very important. Government can't do all for everybody when it comes to this. We need the public to come up and to work with the private partners and step up and have a better chance at getting some of these projects. But it is going to be important that the city be partners to get that done. And again, I'm all about coalitions and working together. If we can include Palmetto, city of across the river or next to the boundary. So I think it's going to be important that we work together to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dimitrie, your answer was affordable housing will allow families to build wealth. Could you explain more, please?
Provide attainable housing. Homes that single women, women with children can easily get into. And, you know, whenever you have a young family, you're nurturing a young family, the next thing is how I'm going to build wealth for this family. And so essentially we just want to get people on that right track to attainable housing, so therefore they can be the leaders in their world that they want to be. And so we want them to make their right decision and getting the right homes for themselves and also build wealth from those housing. I know for me, that's the way I was able to raise my kids right now, is through the equity of my homes and the values of my properties. And so I want everybody to have the same opportunity. Not everybody have to grow up in the hood, you know. So when we're talking about affordable housing, you know, they usually turn into ghettos, to be quite honest. And so I don't want to just keep on putting affordable housing all through the city and making it look like ghetto and stuff. A lot of people are just tired of that. So we just want to make sure we build attainable homes, and so where families can build wealth and, you know, raise their kids. Thank you.
So that was our last question. And since we have some extra time, and because all three of you seemed very passionate about making sure that resources city boundary of our apartment complexes turn to condos. I'd love to see our community come together and be a national role model to turn HUD housing and give those people who have lived there for generations the opportunity to buy their units and therefore have value and learn all that is necessary to be able to do that. So that was free of charge today. If you put together any committees, I'd be willing to serve. So with that, at this time, we want to give our candidates a closing 2 minutes. But actually, Kristen, our timekeeper in the back, who I appreciate, our production manager, she's going to give them an extra 1 minute. We're going to do 3, because we'd like you to start off by sharing what keeps you motivated right now during the pandemic, day to day, in the midst of a campaign. So what gets you motivated to continue on this this journey that you're on as a candidate during a pandemic, and then your closing remarks, please. We'll start in the opposite as we started, so Mayor Shirley Groover Bryant, please.
Well, actually, I love the first part. What keeps me motivated in the public interaction. When we have a new business that comes to town, I try to make sure that I get out to visit them. It's very rare that I miss one. I try to encourage them. I try to help them make connections in the community. That's a critical portion of it. But when I go in different stores and restaurants, and I have perfect strangers come up to me and they say how much they love the improvements and how much the fact that I've been the leader as far as the city for the 12 years, it keeps me on a high, just that feedback from the community and the public. And it's actually am very involved in the community on a day-to-day basis. I'm involved in Mayor's Feed the Hungry. I'm involved in all of the first responders. I'm involved in the 9/11 ceremony. Anything to do with military and veterans and law enforcement, first responders. Very, very important to me. Before the 23rd Street, and we're hoping that that will be a roundabout, and that will slow the traffic down. And according to MPO guidelines and the FDOT, it's much safer. It reduces fatalities by 90%. So for me, everything for the city that we can do to improve the quality of life, we can keep enhancing our wastewater treatment so that all of our projects that we do in the city of Palmetto, we incorporate the stormwater pavers to purify the water. We get grants to put up cameras. And we are getting ready to, when I was chair before, the MPO and Florida Department of Transportation offered an opportunity for that's coming in 20. That we have put at Riverside Drive, so that will benefit and increase the safety of all the pedestrians, the people that use the bus system, and everyone else. It will be much safer in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown,
Okay, you want,
go ahead.
what motivates me?
What motivates you during this candidacy and the pandemic day to day, and then your closing 2 minutes, please.
Right, and what is from people that, what the heck are you doing? Thinking about, running for government and doing different government things. Being a businessman in this community and growing up in this community and being part of this community my whole life and giving back, that's what motivates me. It keeps me every day wanting to do something better for our community, to make my children, my wife, my parents, my siblings, the community proud of what we do. If you're in government for the money, the grief sometimes that you get, you're in it for the wrong reason. I'm in it because I know that if I do things every day that can stay here, it's very, but just basically helping out and doing things as we go forward is motivates me every day to make it better. And if we can make it better for one person each day, it's going to add up to be a lot more as the years go on. And that's what motivates me. Now, as far as, when you talk about a closing statement, we all know that elections have consequences. And one of the most important things to me is that it's our future. It's what's going to happen in Bradenton, what we're going to do to make it better. And again, there's been too much division in our country for sure. Even in our county, there's been some division over the years, and I think it's important that we work together to make things better for all of us. Because when you look at, when you say one side of town or the other, or the county or the city, our city is so intertwined in this county that you can live on one side of the street and you're in the city, and you live on the other side and you're in the county. Well, if you got potholes in that street, they don't care where the potholes are. The citizens want it fixed. And I think that's important for government to get together, work through things, and make it better. Our public safety is going to be very important as we go a referendum on the ballot, that if you followed any of this, I've been against doing it the way that it's been done. I don't think that any of this council right now that's up there will defund the police. But as we know, elections have consequences, and Amendment 3, in my opinion, is not a good amendment for our city at this time. It's going to be important that you read it, understand it, and then make your informed decision of where we're at. I believe that, without question, my leadership and experience will be more important than ever as we confront the critical decisions to put our city back on the road to strength and prosperity for all. So I feel that if you wanted more information, go to votegenebrown.com and look me up. Phone number's there.
Keeps me motivated is the fact that I'm not even supposed to be here running for mayor at the age of 33, let alone being a black man running to be a mayor at age 33. That in itself humbles me and motivates me to be here. What motivates me is my children. The fact that I grew up in the hood with nothing, and during an epidemic where we see people dying because of density, everybody compiled in one building, such as New York, but so my kids and my wife quarantine themselves. That motivates me, and that's telling me, hey dude, you're supposed to get comfortable because God has your back. Your job now is to go take care of his people. Go out there to those young children, those young boys and girls who don't believe that they could be a mayor because they don't have access to $100 grand. I'm letting those young children know today, you don't have to have $100,000 to be the mayor. All you have to do is have the wherewithal in you, the belief in you, and go out there and campaign and be the change maker you want, the change agent you want to be in the community. I love God because he has blessed me in ways that I couldn't even start to say thank you, but to tell God thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, you have two establishment politicians, one who's not here today, which I am very upset at. But thank you, Gene Brown, for being here. You've been here, you've been at all the forums, and so I give you kudos for all of that, brother. Robert's not here, and he's not representing the black community well, so thank you to you, Gene Brown. So you have two establishment politicians wanting to be a mayor, representing both sides of the aisle. Make it easy on yourself. Vote for the other guy, Dimitrie, a blue-collar Republican who believes in hard work, minus the excuses. We will rebuild our Black Ward 5, defend our guns here locally from federal government, restore respect for our law enforcement officers, and rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. Enough is enough with establishment politicians. Vote Dimitrie Denis for mayor November 3rd. And again, and this is very important, this is not Dimitrie Denis' campaign. This is a campaign for the people and of the people. Majority of the people in the city of Bradenton do not have $100,000 to run and be the mayor. So it's going to take a strong person, someone who believes in himself, to get that campaign going, to run and to take care of the people. Because it's been a hard work standing out there on Manatee Ave with a cardboard saying vote for Denis. But guess what? Don't make no excuses. Get the job done and let others believe in you. Vote Dimitrie Denis for mayor November 3rd.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. Today was very informative. We appreciate, not only did you answer our questions, I believe that you educated everyone who was listening on the matters specific to your cities, your roles, and your vision for what you believe that our communities can be. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in. Please, after you see this, please share this with your friends. Make sure that you too are educating yourself on all of the issues and all of the candidates that are running that you will see on your particular ballots in your particular wards. And so again, Bradenton and Kiwanis, we want to thank you. We want to thank Shin Productions. We want to thank the technical staff, Kristen Ribble, production manager of the Manatee Performing Arts Center, for making sure that this went off seamlessly. We hope that you did not have any technical difficulties at home or in your office, in the car, or as you're walking the Riverwalk. But again, thank you. We hope you'll tune in next week to the Bradenton and Kiwanis meeting for a great review of the amendments. You too can see that on Vimeo. Check back with us next week. And with that, we say thank you and have a great day.